the lunar landings were more than likely fabricated, faked.
Elon Musk, the guy who's always dreaming big, whether it's making electric cars super cool with Tesla or planning to send us all to Mars one day with SpaceX. He's got this knack for shaking things up and making us rethink what's possible. Now, here's where it gets really juicy. Apparently, Elon Musk has uncovered something absolutely mind-blowing about the moon, something NASA might have been keeping under wraps for years. We've all grown up thinking the moon is just a dusty, empty rock floating in space. But what if that's not the whole story? Ever wondered why NASA hasn't gone back to the moon since the Apollo missions? Well, hold on to your hats because Elon might have just found out why. And it's a game changer. Word on the street is that Elon got his hands on some super-secret photos from the Apollo missions, the ones NASA didn't show the world. And among thousands of those pictures, there's something so shocking it could flip everything we thought we knew about space upside down. The truth is coming out, folks, and it's going to leave your jaw on the floor. What's NASA been hiding from us all this time? Stick around, because this hidden image might just rewrite history. Before we move ahead in the video, please subscribe to the channel so that you get the information about technology first. Elon Musk was flipping through those secret Apollo mission photos we talked about earlier, and one picture totally stopped him in his tracks. At first glance, it looked like your typical boring moon snapshot. Gray, dusty, and full of craters. But then, something weird caught his eye. Buried in the moon's rough, lifeless surface was something. Not just another random rock or hole, but a structure. Yeah, you heard that right. A shape so perfect, so geometric, it didn't look like nature could have made it on its own. Now, Elon's a smart guy, so he thought, nah, this has got to be a trick of the light or my eyes messing with me. After all, NASA's been the big boss of space stuff forever, and they've always told us what's what. Or so we thought. But the more he stared at that image, the more it bugged him. This wasn't just some funky shadow. It looked deliberate, like something built by someone or something with a brain. His curiosity kicked into overdrive. What was NASA hiding? Why hadn't anyone else noticed this? Elon realized he needed more answers. The moon wasn't just some random rock we visited back in the day. It was hiding secrets, big ones, that NASA might have kept from us for decades. So he started digging through more moon photos, wondering if this strange structure was just the tip of the iceberg. What if there was more? What if this hinted at alien life or some ancient advanced civilization that once called the moon home? The deeper Elon dug, the more he felt like pieces of the puzzle were missing. Pieces NASA didn't want us to see. Now, Elon's no stranger to shaking things up. But this wasn't just about inventing cool tech or starting a new company. This was about rewriting what we know about space, life beyond Earth, and maybe even the history of our whole solar system. Can you imagine what might be out there? Stick around. This is getting wilder by the minute. NASA, the big shots of space, had poured billions of dollars into exploring the moon. And to Elon Musk, it seemed downright crazy that they could have missed something as wild as a mysterious structure on its surface. Or maybe they didn't miss it at all. Maybe they found it ages ago and decided to keep it hush-hush. But why? This wasn't just about boring government secrets. It felt like something way bigger, something that could shake the world. Elon started to see NASA in a whole new light. The same folks who once bragged about landing on the moon were suddenly looking super shady to him. Why hadn't they gone back in all these years? Why no follow-up missions to poke around and see what else was out there? To Elon, the answer seemed pretty clear. There was something up there they didn't want anyone to find. And when all the clues started coming together, he couldn't hold back. He straight up said, "There's no way NASA could have missed this weird anomaly. If they were hiding it, they had some serious explaining to do." But Elon wasn't about to let it go. Nope, he kept digging, determined to unravel this big, messy web of secrets. And let me tell you, the deeper he went, the wilder it got. The mystery of the moon's surface wasn't just some one-off oddity. It was about to reveal truths that could totally flip everything we thought we knew about space. The moon wasn't just a faraway rock. It was a place packed with hidden stories, and Elon was on a mission to spill them all. Here's where it gets even crazier. As Elon kept investigating, he realized this strange structure wasn't just a lone weird thing. It was part of a much bigger, creepier pattern. Turns out, NASA might have known about these oddities for decades, but never told us. Why keep it under wraps? The more Elon uncovered, the more it seemed like the story of the moon was way more complicated than NASA ever let on. They always painted it as this dull, lifeless place, a pit stop for humanity's space adventures. But now, it's starting to look like the moon's got secrets that could rewrite the whole game. We all know the story of the Apollo missions, right? Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin stepping onto the moon in 1969, planting the flag, and kicking off what we thought was a new era of space exploration. It was a huge deal, humanity's greatest achievement. But what if that wasn't the full story? What if the moon wasn't just a cool place we visited, but a giant piece of a puzzle NASA didn't want us to solve? Elon Musk started asking the big questions. Why did NASA stop going to the moon after Apollo 17 in 1972? I mean, think about it. We've had all these amazing advancements in tech since then. So why no more moon trips? Why leave it alone for decades? To Elon, it didn't add up. The moon had been basically ignored by humans ever since, and most of us just went along with NASA's story that they'd been there, done that. But Elon, he's not the type to just nod and move on. He smelled something fishy. As he dug deeper, a different story started to take shape, one that made him think NASA might be hiding some pretty crazy stuff. Word from some insiders suggested NASA had been super quiet about weird discoveries on the moon, like possible signs of ancient civilizations or even hints of alien life. Can you imagine? Elon's brain went into overdrive. Had NASA known about these oddities the whole time and just not told us? This wasn't just about keeping government secrets or national security. It felt like something way bigger, something that could change everything. What if the moon had once been home to an advanced civilization? Or what if there was proof of extraterrestrial life up there? Those kinds of discoveries would totally flip how we see ourselves in the universe. Elon started wondering, could humanity even handle that kind of truth? Would it shake up everything we believe about our place in the cosmos? For him, these weren't just what-if daydreams. They were questions that needed answers. And with his track record of pushing boundaries and exploring the unknown, this wasn't just about space travel anymore. This was about uncovering the real story of the moon. And he wasn't going to stop until he got to the bottom of it. If these discoveries were as big as they seemed, they could usher in a new era of space exploration, one that might change the way we see ourselves in the universe. And Alan, with his never-say-die attitude and his refusal to accept things as they are, was ready to lay these secrets bare. NASA's silence? It wasn't going to last long, but the deeper Alan dug, the more questions came up. And they weren't easy. Why didn't NASA be more open with us? Why did they suddenly halt moon missions after Apollo 17 in 1972 and then turn their attention to Mars decades later. Did they find something during the Apollo trips that upended everything they thought they knew? Something the world wasn't ready for? Alan's frustration began to grow. There had to be more to the story, and he didn't want to let it go. The more he looked into it, the more he saw flaws in NASA's moon exploration. Sure, the Apollo missions brought back a wealth of scientific information and took thousands of photographs of the lunar surface. But there were still huge flaws. Huge areas of the moon were never properly explored, even though NASA had the technology to do so. It seemed like they were holding back on purpose. Why? Alan didn't believe in the idea that we had solved the mysteries of the moon. To him, this was just the beginning. And he was determined to uncover the real mystery, no matter what it took. What if there's a reason NASA didn't dig deeper into certain parts of the moon? What if they found structures, signs of life, or even some kind of technology up there, and then decided to keep it all under wraps? Elon started thinking this wasn't just about one weird anomaly he spotted in a photo. This was about the difference between what the world had been told and what might have been left out on purpose. For years, NASA had painted the moon as this boring, lifeless place, just a giant gray rock floating in space. The photos and videos they shared with us backed that up. Dusty craters, no air, nothing exciting. But the strange structure Elon found didn't fit that story at all. It stuck out like a sore thumb compared to the official version of the moon NASA had been feeding us for decades. It got him wondering, did they really miss these oddities? Or did they hide them to protect some bigger truth? The thought that the moon might have once had life, whether from humans, aliens, or something else entirely, was a total game changer. It could shake up everything we think we know about our spot in the universe. For Elon, this wasn't just a what if anymore. It became a full-on mission to get to the bottom of it, no matter what. The Apollo program was once NASA's shining star, a huge win for humanity and proof we'd conquered the space race. Those missions, especially the famous Apollo 11 landing in 1969, were a big deal. But then, after Apollo 17 in 1972, everything just stopped. No more humans on the moon for over 50 years. Not a single trip. Why? Elon Musk started poking around, and he wasn't buying the usual excuses like, it costs too much, or people got bored. Nope, his research hinted at something way juicier. What if NASA found something up there they couldn't wrap their heads around? Not just weird rocks or funky craters, but maybe proof of a whole civilization, or at least something so advanced it didn't fit their playbook. Could they have stumbled across signs of alien life, or the leftovers of some ancient tech-savvy society? If so, that's huge, and maybe they thought the world just wasn't ready for that kind of bombshell. The more Elon thought about it, the more it seemed like NASA had backed off because they saw something they couldn't explain. We've had the tech to go back to the moon for ages, but instead of returning, NASA turned their eyes to Mars, dreaming up plans to build a future on the red planet. Meanwhile, the moon, just a quick hop away, sat there, mostly ignored. Was that on purpose? Did NASA decide it was easier to focus on Mars than deal with whatever weird stuff the moon was hiding? Elon wasn't buying the idea that the moon was just a pit stop we'd already checked off the list. To him, this felt like a dodge, like NASA was avoiding some uncomfortable truths. And he wasn't about to let that slide. The moon's secrets weren't just waiting to be swept under the rug. They were begging to be uncovered. Before we blast back to the moon mystery, let's take a quick detour to get to know the man behind it all, Elon Musk. His story isn't just about cool tech or big companies. It's about a kid with a wild imagination who grew up to chase some pretty epic dreams. Born in 1971 in Pretoria, South Africa, Elon wasn't your average child. From the get-go, he was super curious and always itching to figure out how stuff worked. By the time he was 12, Elon was already messing around with computers, teaching himself how to code, and even whipping up his own video game from scratch. That's not just a fun school project. It was a sneak peek into the brain of someone who'd one day shake up the world. What really made Elon stand out was how he always seemed to be thinking 10 steps ahead. While most folks were stuck on the here and now, Elon's mind was racing toward the future. A future where humanity might need to get creative to survive and thrive. For Elon, it was never just about making a quick buck or starting a business for the heck of it. Nah, he's always been driven by a bigger purpose, using tech to tackle humanity's toughest challenges. Space? That grabbed his attention early on and never let go. The idea of humans living on other planets wasn't just a cool sci-fi dream for him. It became his life's mission. That spark eventually turned into SpaceX, his company that's all about making space travel cheaper and getting us closer to chilling on Mars. But Elon's dreams didn't stop at space. He's also been laser-focused on shaking things up here on Earth, like changing how we think about energy and transportation. That's where Tesla comes in, the electric car company that put him on the map. It wasn't just about building fancy cars. It was about pushing for sustainable energy to help save the planet from growing environmental problems. Elon knew the future needed big ideas in every area: cars, solar power, space travel, you name it. And he wanted to lead the charge. Now, don't get me wrong, his journey hasn't been a smooth ride. Far from it. There were plenty of times when people thought he was nuts, or that his plans were impossible. The early days of SpaceX were rough, with multiple rocket launches going kaput. But here's the thing about Elon. He doesn't quit. Those failures didn't stop him. They taught him. He saw every setback as a chance to learn, dusted himself off, and kept going. That grit, that never-give-up attitude is what turned him into the game-changer we know today. So, yeah, Elon's not just a tech wizard, he's a dreamer who's been through the ringer and still keeps pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And that's exactly why he's the guy digging into the moon's secrets with everything he's got. Now back to the moon mystery with Elon Musk leading the charge. Elon's got a big idea. If we're ever going to explore Mars or venture even farther into space, we've got to crack the secrets of the moon first. To him, the moon isn't just a stepping stone. It's the key to figuring out what humanity's next moves should be. Without getting to the bottom of what's up there, we're basically just stumbling around in the dark. Elon thinks it's time to go back, and this time, we can't keep the truth under wraps. As he dove deeper into the moon's mysteries, it hit him that what's hiding on its surface isn't just some random weird thing. It could be a total game changer. If we uncover the real story, it might flip everything we think we know about space exploration, technology, and even life beyond Earth. So, Elon rolled up his sleeves and started digging into NASA's old files like a detective on a mission. He got his hands on more documents, photos, and technical reports from the Apollo missions, stuff that had been tucked away for years. And the more he found, the clearer the picture got. NASA's hesitation to head back to the moon wasn't just about money or tricky logistics. Nope, it was about what they'd stumbled across, or maybe what they'd run into up there. Just the thought of these strange anomalies, those unexplained structures, was enough to shake the whole foundation of what we believe about space and our place in the universe. For Elon, this wasn't just about science anymore. It was about rewriting the story of humanity's cosmic journey. It's starting to look like NASA had a pretty big reason for not going back to the moon. Not because they didn't feel like it, but because they knew it might open up a whole can of worms they weren't ready to deal with. For Elon, this wasn't just about ticking off a box in the space race or getting to Mars. Nope, the stakes were way higher. He wanted to crack open the secrets of space that might have been hidden for centuries. To Elon, the moon wasn't just another stop on the cosmic highway. It was a giant clue to understanding the universe and maybe even where we come from. Sure, it was risky to challenge NASA's story and start asking these big questions, but Elon wasn't fazed. In fact, the more he uncovered, the more determined he got. He believed the moon held answers to questions humans have been asking forever, and he was dead set on bringing those answers to light. And here's the thing. Elon wasn't alone in wondering about all this. As more info started bubbling up, people everywhere got curious again about space. They started asking the same questions. Why hasn't NASA gone back to the moon? With all the fancy tech we've got now, what's holding them back? What's really stopping them from exploring more? The truth behind NASA's secrecy was starting to spark a fire, and public interest in the moon's mysteries was lighting up like never before. Imagine if the moon once had intelligent life or some crazy advanced tech. There'd be so much we could learn from it, especially about setting up a sustainable colony on another planet like Mars. To Elon, NASA's choice to stop exploring the moon after the Apollo missions felt like a missed opportunity, especially with the weird stuff he was uncovering. The moon could be the perfect practice zone for testing all the tech we'd need to live on Mars, like life support systems, energy production, you name it. But NASA's hesitation to go back got Elon thinking. Had they really thought through how useful the moon could be for Mars missions? The more he pondered it, the more he felt like space exploration needed a shakeup, and maybe it shouldn't be left to slow-moving government agencies like NASA. Their pace was too sluggish for him, and their unwillingness to tackle the moon's hidden secrets felt like a big roadblock. Elon started leaning hard into the idea that private companies, like his own SpaceX, could speed things up. With innovation and a bit of competition driving them, private industries could take space exploration to the next level in ways NASA just wasn't doing. SpaceX was already killing it with reusable rockets and sending folks into space, so why not take it further? With what he'd learned about the moon, Elon was more fired up than ever to lead humanity into the next big chapter of space travel. Still, those nagging questions wouldn't leave him alone. What's the moon really hiding? What's NASA trying to sweep under the rug? And why? As Elon kept pushing forward with his Mars plans, these mysteries became a core part of his mission. The answers could change everything, and he wasn't about to stop until he found them.